Line.
Alfred Cannan, MHK, live on the Mannin Line today, 24 minutes to 1 on Manx Radio. Of course, Britain's coming through that official Brexit on January the 1st. Will the UK come after our financial services business in the new year? I mean, will they try and compete with the Isle of Man in terms of being, will they drop their corporation tax? Will they make the UK a lot more attractive?
If I knew the answer to these questions, Andy, I think I'd be a very, very wealthy man. It's very, very hard to say. I mean, we all know the Brexit negotiations are clearly going right down to the absolute wire now. I think broadly from what I understand, and indeed what most of us understand, that there are only one or two blocks now in terms of getting this across the line. I think I've always taken the view with Brexit, whatever happens, I think our financial services industry will be strong, has the strength and depth to be able to sustain itself. But not only that, I think its international approach, bear in mind there are large parts, most of our finance sector really is focused internationally outside of Europe. So I think actually we're going to be in a very strong position from a financial services perspective. I'm actually more worried slightly about what impact COVID is going to have in terms of perhaps some of the bigger infrastructure and bigger corporates in terms of maybe any restructuring that they undertake. But broadly speaking, I'm very confident actually we're going to be in a good place, whatever happens with Brexit in terms of financial services. Really, the bigger concerns are around farming and fishing in terms of whatever is finally laid on the table. And I think that's where our attention really is focused at the moment.
Okay, Bob, you're live with Alfred Cannan.
Hello, Mr. Cannan.
Hello, Bob.
It's, Bob Cooley here.
Hello, Bob.
I know your father well. And that. What I want to ask is, why haven't all campsites been treated the same? Like, we run a campsite, and we've been put up, told you don't meet the criteria, and the thing they tell us, because you're pensioners, and they've told us everything. We've tried to get something. We don't want a big handout, but all campsites should be treated the same, because some have been getting it. I don't know. I've gone round some, and they've said they've got it. Why can't they be treated like they were when the foot and mouth was on?
Well, Bob, I mean, as you know, the tourist industry has been receiving payment schemes, as we were discussing earlier, and is still receiving support schemes. Obviously, people do still have to meet certain criteria. What I can, and I appreciate that clearly there is some individuals in slightly different circumstances. So I have actually dealt with one or two campsite owners and tried to work with them and the Department for Enterprise to understand why they hadn't actually got support. And I think one or two occasions we've managed to resolve that issue. But Bob, I think the best thing for me to do with your particular case is I need to understand where you fit within the criteria that's been set by the Department for Enterprise for access to funding. I'm really happy to do that, Bob, and understand why your campsite hasn't got the funding that perhaps it could get. And Andy, very happy to pick up offline with Bob, or Bob, if you want to drop me a line or give me a ring, I'll happily look into your circumstances.
Okay, Bob, we've got your telephone number, Bob. I'll pass that through to Mr. Cannan if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. But I've been told by the Chief Minister that I should be entitled to something, and that's we've run this. Why, like in Put-and-Mouth, all campsites were treated the same.
Okay. All right, Bob.
Asked for freedom of information.
Okay, don't worry. Mr. Cannan's...
Can you get this for us?
Yeah, okay. Mr. Cannan's got your telephone number, and we've got your telephone number, Bob. I'll pass that through to Mr. Cannan, and we'll get something done for you. Thanks for calling us today. What was the situation with the campsites? Why? Because we've had are there different criteria with campsites? How does it work?
I think they were given. So I mean, it was a very sort of more straightforward decision, I think, in terms of the design of the schemes and the way that it was allocated on a per room basis to hotels and accommodation providers. And I think the campsites themselves were given a slightly different criteria in terms of their turnover, and also I think the I think during the summer season as well, there was quite extensive use of some of these campsites. So there was an argument put forward that actually they didn't necessarily need some of the support at that particular time, whereas the hotels and other accommodation providers were in a slightly different position. But look, there has been some difficulties here understanding the true position for some of the campsites and campsite owners, and it's something that I've been working with the Department for Enterprise just to try and understand more in terms of their requirements and indeed whether some more support should be allocated in this particular area.
Now, you're an advocate of this centralised unit to coordinate major projects within government. Doesn't the DOI do that currently?
That's correct.
So would you like Treasury to do that?
No, I don't think I want Treasury to do that. I think there is an absolute call to sort out our major projects on the island. We've had multiple examples, not just with this government, but other governments previously, where things have not run according to plan. The communications, the governance, the finances surrounding these projects and the planning phase is open to question. I think that we have to try and take steps to put more confidence behind that, both from a public perspective, from a political perspective, and we also need some robustness. And I think the way to do that is to create a major projects board or major projects unit that sits actually outside the Department for Infrastructure. And these departments will effectively act as the clients. They'll have to come to this board. They will talk about their big projects, whether that's a school, whether that's a hospital, whether it's a new pier, whether that's a major significant road scheme. And I'm hoping that we'll have on this board individuals with specific skills and experience in civil engineering who will be able to robustly challenge the business cases that have been put forward to them and to help find the best solutions. And then we need to bring more governance and robustness to the project management side in terms of the reporting, which needs to happen much more regularly. Now, I'm not saying, with these projects that everything would then be perfect, because, civil engineering projects are not always, they don't always go that smoothly. But I think we need much more confidence that the planning phase and the governance phase around these things is being undertaken more effectively.
What you're hoping to do, save money or just get things finished on time?
Well, I think it would be a combination of value for money, making sure that what was being delivered was in accordance to what had been originally prescribed, that there was proper, as I said, governance around it. And actually, would you save money? Yes, you will save money if you stop overspending to the degree that we've been overspending. And we can see that because, we've seen that obviously with the promenade, where we clearly have run into problems in terms of once the surface has been dug out, and in terms of the smoothness in terms of the progress of the project. And we've also seen that in other areas where once we sort of start getting spades in the ground and get going, finding that things are not actually matching the specification that was given us or coming up to standard in terms of the site surveys that have been delivered. So there's quite a lot. It's big, it's complex. We need people who understand these things on a board. What's the likelihood
of this happening?
I will be clear about this and other aspects in terms of our capital and infrastructure financing in February.
Alfred Cannan with us, and back in just a few moments' time.